now, definitely join on Facebook on my Facebook page, and I'll see you there.
Okay. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the show. This is the More Sibyl Podcast, the podcast about culture and cultural nomads, designed for Blacks and nations and those who love them. And I'm your host, More Sibyl, Nigerian-born, US-educated, Korean-speaking, wandering intellectual. And today, I have a beautiful guest, as you can see, and I cannot wait to explore her story and just to share a little bit of what she's about, and hopefully we can get some quality questions from the comment sections. So don't forget to type in your questions and whatever you'd like to know about, just the topics we'll be exploring, which I will quickly share right now. But this is something I try to do on the show. I try to bring people who I'm inspired by, people who have been open to sharing their story. My hope is to make the world a smaller and hopefully a better place. So her name is Essence Hayes,
Yes.
and she was born in the U.S. She's currently living in New York City, and she's a proud mom of one. She's also a digital marketer, and one of the phrases that I picked from her bio that I want to pieces today will be the family unit being seen as its own economy. So during her time on the show today, we'll be talking about entrepreneurship, growing up in the U.S., gender roles, having kids, single parenting, and then we'll take some questions, about work-life integration and budgeting as a single mom, and also African Americans and Africans, like a relationship between us and how we can basically be a bit more together, I guess. So,
United.
um, anyways, Essence, did I miss anything in your bio? Everyone join me welcoming Essence to the show.
Yay! No,
So,
you did everything. That's good.
okay, good. So, just let's see how many people are watching us right now. It's kind of always hard to tell. I guess let's just start from the beginning. Like, okay, tell us how you grew up, where you grew up, and what life was like as a child.
Okay, so this is a challenging but sometimes simple question. Depends on how I want to answer. So, hi everyone. Thank you for having me. Thank you for joining us. If you're live, if you're watching a replay, just thanks and welcome to a part of my little story. But I grew up in New York City, Harlem. Represent Harlem proudly everywhere I go. So yeah, well I grew up here in New York with two sisters. I'm the youngest of three. Both parents, my mom and my dad, very present in my life. Great experiences there. Um, and yeah, I grew up independent, just very curious about life, always wanting to kind of challenge, you know, what was normal, or just curious to see why things were, especially within groups. That was always something that was interesting to me. And eventually that's what I studied in college when I went, sociology. I feel like I just totally skipped. Okay, I was born and then I went to college. But no, oh, I'm sorry. I have to fix this. How do I fix this? I don't know how to fix that.
Okay.
Did you hear the echoing?
Oh yeah, I was actually dancing to it.
I'm like, I put it on mute, but I don't know how to fix it. So
Uh,
I left the meeting. So I hope.
oh, that's fine. That's fine. We'll just use this. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I grew up the my dad. The memories that I have growing up was my dad was always coming to us on the weekends and taking us out and spending quality time with us. But one of the like values that he really instilled in me and my sisters were like we were close. Like we had to be close. We had to resolve our issues. We couldn't speak derogatorily to each other. We always had to have respect for one another, and I feel like that really carried us through the years in terms of resolving conflicts between one another, always making sure we're, you know, supporting one another. And now in our adult life, it's like it's a little bit more challenging because everyone is their own individual now, and you're kind of going your separate route, but you still want to
Be
on, you know, keep going together, basically. So that was very, very important in my life, because those are, like, you know, your first friends. You know, your family is your first relationship. So we grew up very close. Like, I just remember all the pictures and of us like trying to match, kind of, you know, just doing everything together. And I feel like that's really where I got a lot of the family values, and why I have such an interest in, you know, developing or just exploring what does it take to keep a family together. um, Especially when you're an adult. It's different when you're a kid. You know, it's simple. Life is simple. You're playing, you fall, you get up, oh, okay, I forgive you. Like, it's really fast. When you start to get into your 20s and, you know, you want to be an individual and you kind of want to separate, that's when it's like, okay, how do we still try to make sure everyone's on the same page? So I think that is a very staple thing in my childhood.
that's quite wonderful. So Harlem with two siblings and your mom and dad, and so is that where you currently live? You still live in Harlem?
Yep, I'm in Harlem.
Okay, okay.
Still Harlem.
So I think let's just fast forward to college. What did you study in college?
Sociology, like humanities, like really, it was really the study of groups of people. That's just all of the classes that I really took interest in was people, relationships. That's really what it boiled down to. Of course, and you know, you have some of the things like I studied with social problems, like, okay, in terms of how it relates to economics or poverty or different social problems like that. But I
Yeah.
think really looking for was how to build relationships and how to keep people on the same page when you're in a group. And I, like I said before, I think that brings me back to what I really feel like, yeah, like the family, because it's the first group. It's really the first group that you're in. Um, so yeah, that's what I studied in college. It was a great time, because in high school, not I'm gonna be like 100% honest, I didn't do well in high school. I really like only did well until like the last few years of school. But it it made me realize, like, it's important. It's still important, no matter like what route you take. Because I know a lot of the times people are like, oh, you know, what they're teaching in school is unnecessary. But I feel like when I got to college, that was my chance to be an individual. And some people find that outside of college or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but that's where I really just started exploring myself. Like, okay, what do I like? Who do I want to be associated with? What types of groups do I want to be in? And I chose the nice groups. Like, I was in an honor society. I was, which is very odd because I did so bad. Like, it wasn't that bad, but I didn't do so well in high school. But I was in the honor society. And in fact, that brings me to a story that I think I don't know if I told you,
Oh yeah. No.
but it kind of relates to the first time I traveled out of the country.
So
And
to Guatemala, what country was that you said you
yeah,
went to?
so
Okay.
I went to Guatemala, but the part in terms of where it connects to me being in the honor society, that was so impactful for me because I was in the honors. I don't know what they call it. It's something honors, whatever. But because I was in that group, I was able to speak to the college president and get her to grant more scholarship money for that trip. And because I had noticed there was no scholarships there. And I knew that, some of the students that were going on the trip, they needed some more financial support. So because I did well in school and then I got to be in that meeting that we had with the college president, I was able to say, oh, this is something that we should provide to other students, because it's not currently available. And then the way that I felt after contributing to a group like that was amazing. Like that was the best feeling that I've ever could have. Like people were like, "Thank you so much. You helped me. This was the final amount that I needed to make sure I got on the trip." And it just was like, wow, like the things that you could do if you're doing well as an individual to contribute back to a group. Like that's perfect.
That's a sociologist in you.
Say that again?
That's a sociologist in you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Nice. So I can imagine that Harlem, because I've been there a couple of times.
Okay.
It's such a heavy influence of Afro culture and all of that. What would you say? How would you say Harlem shaped your racial identity growing up? Like, were you able to like bask in the cultural influence that Harlem is, or it was mostly what your family was like that helped you?
So when I think of Harlem culture in the way that it impacted me, I feel like the people of Harlem are very fashion. Like you have a great sense of fashion, and that's the thing that I think I gathered. I think when I was growing up, it wasn't so much like I was like, okay, I have the latest this, and it wasn't like designer so much. It was just like, how do I dress? Like, how do I feel? Like that was very big. So I think that, like in my later high school years, I started being more into that because I'm starting to see like, wow, this looks really great. Like, oh, okay, let me go over here. Let me, that was starting to be very important. I think the other parts of the Harlem culture, like dance, my sister more so picked up, not me. I wasn't like the dancer, but she did. That was very impactful in Harlem culture. And yeah, I think those are the biggest things for me in terms of how it impacted. And honestly, when people from Harlem are so proud to be from
Well,
like anywhere I go and you're meeting other people from Harlem, it's like, oh, you're from Harlem, like it's you just really build that connection. So I think those are the main things.
nice. So you identify as African American, right? Oh, by the way, Roscoe's was one of the best places I went to in Harlem
Wait,
for
say that again.
Roscoe's. Was that in Brooklyn? Roscoe's, the fried chicken and waffle.
Oh yeah, that's
Brooklyn. Is
yeah,
it Brooklyn?
Brooklyn. Brooklyn has a lot of cultural. It's a bigger borough. I mean, Harlem is not even a borough. It's a small area in the borough of Manhattan. So,
Oh, okay.
but
Oh,
people compare Harlem to other boroughs, and so that's how like it's so rich in culture that you
yeah.
compare it to something
But
that's
they have a lot of good Afro clubs, like African clubs to go to.
definitely.
All right. So you identify as African American or
I
Black
do.
American.
Yeah.
So have you really traced your ancestry to find out where exactly you might be from?
No, I haven't. I should.
Why?
I really should. I mean, I don't know. The farthest that I know is my grandmother's. She was from Alabama. That's
Okay, that's close enough. It's far away from Holland. Yeah.
she actually she traveled when she was a teen to New York City, and that's how we kind of got here. But that's the furthest back that I know of. I really should. I think that would be interesting to know. Like where my the line comes from.
Migration, yeah. But if you could take a gander as to where you fit in, I want to just suggest Africa. Just because you could be from the Caribbean, you could be from anywhere. But let's stick to Africa because I'm African and I hope you're from Africa. But if you pick a country in Africa that you feel connected to, maybe it might not just be the way you think you look, but just a country that has really stolen your heart. Which one would you say?
So there's two. So one is, of course, is in Africa, which is Ethiopia. And, the only reason why I chose that is because the first person that I met from there, She was my sister's, I think she was my sister's second or third grade teacher.
Okay.
And she was really beautiful. She was very just classy, a really classy woman. You could tell she appreciated her heritage and her roots because the way she dressed. But she was just really nice. So that was the first time I had exposure to someone of that of African descent. Like, not, of course, we're all generally probably from Africa, but like he was like, okay,
Closest, yeah. I
yes.
get what you mean. Yeah, yeah. And
So
the second country?
say that again.
Second country.
Oh, so the second country is I'm not sure what country yet, but I feel deeply a connection to Spanish speaking countries. That's
Muy caliente.
oh man, yeah. So it's like I said, that was the first country that I traveled to. And I've been to, Guatemala, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. I do want to go to Cuba. I mean, not Cuba. I'm sorry. What is this place? Costa Rica. No.
Okay, the other Rica. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So I do. I just one, the language is beautiful. It's widely used, so it will be helpful to learn. Which I kind of did learn when I went to Guatemala, but that was so many years ago. I can understand some things when I hear it, but I
Yeah.
will not be able to I say
I know the conversation. Yeah.
hola and
That's it. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Buenos días.
simple things like everyone knows.
Yeah.
But I do feel a connection there. Really, like, not sure which one really the most, but every time I go, it just I feel like I feel relaxed. Like I feel just calm.
At home.
Say it. Go ahead.
Like feeling at home, maybe, like with the language and the culture.
Yeah, like, because I remember this one time, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it was the second time I went to Puerto Rico, and I actually was with my child's father, and we went because his mom was there, and she had a business there. She had a restaurant, and she was living there at the time. And I remember she was driving us. I don't know what we were doing, but it just felt like I can't even describe the feeling that I felt. It just was like I could do this. Like I could be here. Like, this is it. Like this is the feeling. So, and I think that's probably why I would move to like Miami, or like I was thinking Los Angeles before, but I don't know about that. I've been like probably not, but maybe like Miami, because I feel like that's probably closest to that feeling. But we'll just have to see.
Or New York. Even New York isn't bad because it's so many. I'm so tired of it.
I am, because I don't like the winter. I don't like the winter.
It's too late. You've been living there all your life.
No, that's why I'm so tired. I'm like, okay, I know what this is like. I'm not interested anymore. So, but yeah, I don't like it. So I really do want to leave.
But I so relate to what you said about just having a connection to your country, but you don't know how to really explain it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yours is, how do I put it? I mean, Spanish isn't so far out. Like you can, I mean, people say, "Oh, she grew up in New York," even though it's more than that for you. Because people travel to these countries that you started fitting together. I'm very much enamored by the Korean culture, and it's so hard for sometimes to actually explain to people why, because they look at you like, "Are you for real though?" Like, like, have you even mastered your own language? Like, try to explain to me. I feel like I'm not doing a good job of it, so I'm just like, you know what? I cannot explain, but I just love this culture. Like when I hear the language being spoken, like something calls out to me. Like the beginning part, before I could really start understanding a lot of the words, I will listen to some songs and they'll just start making me cry.
Wow.
The beats, maybe, yeah, but then the words, even though I don't know what they meant, like something deep was just, I felt like it was calling, something was calling deeply inside of me. I don't know how that makes
I
sense.
know. I just know that. I understand. I
Yeah,
totally.
yeah. I mean, I hope you keep exploring Spanish language and
I will.
yeah,
I
because it's
have
such a good way to be able to express yourself in another language. I
to.
try to put that into words, like the
I never thought about it in that way. Like it's a way, another way to express
it
my.
is, it is. So
Yeah.
I can't curse in English because I always think about my mom saying, don't curse," but I can safely curse anyone in Korean, and they wouldn't even know. Especially when I'm driving and someone like does something, and I don't have to listen to that my mother's voice telling me cursing is bad. So you develop like another emotional language or analytical
Wow.
language, and it gives you this childlike perspective. You with a kid right now, I'm sure as your daughter is growing up, the way she's struggling with language and babbling, there's
Mhm.
a that comes with that. And imagine you being as old as we are and trying to go back in time, like almost like kindergarten level.
Mm.
And you see yourself in a different way. Like you're so curious about the world around you. Like
That's
you totally do
that's
it.
that's a great perspective because I never really thought about it as that. So
Oh
that's
yeah, yeah.
probably gonna push me to explore quicker. Like, okay, no, I don't need to wait for anything because it's an extension of myself, really. So
Yeah. Yeah, you should totally do it. Because I feel like every time I learn a new word, like the universe is laying down puzzles for me, and I have to go crack the puzzle. And so when I find a new word that I've added to my vocabulary, is one more word I can communicate, and it's such a beautiful thing.
that's awesome.
And so
That's
let's
really cool.
oh yeah, good luck with that, okay? And make sure you pursue that.
I will tell you what I learned.
Okay. But you have to be very intentional because
Yeah,
it
you really,
doesn't happen.
yeah,
Like
you really do. That's very
you have to be, and I feel for you, you have to be extra because Spanish is so ubiquitous. Like you can just be like, oh, at least I'm listening to it. For me, with Korean, I had to because I live in Oklahoma, honey, smack dab in the middle of Oklahoma. Like there ain't no thriving Korean community here. You got to go find the people and communicate with them. So
important.
don't. I mean, it's something you really want to do. Create time for it, and
Mhm.
it's just so beautiful. And you can make more friends. You can when you
Exactly,
travel,
exactly,
get
exactly.
so much stuff in Spanish. All right. So let's talk about life as a digital marketer. Like, what does that entail, and how did you move from sociology to, digital marketing?
Right, right. Okay, so the back like when I was a younger child, and of course the computers are starting to come out, and internet is becoming like we're really entering the internet age. Um, that's when I just started like I was the only one in my family that was computer savvy, like literally, and I never understood like why is this so hard? Like it's very simple. Like no matter what it was like okay, oh, call Essence because she can do this. She knows how to,
Mhm,
and it's just
mhm,
like I do know how to do it, but can't you do it? Like I learned, you can learn, and I battled with that for so long because I'm just like it's so simple. It's so simple. Why can't you do it? So but that was like the starting thing in terms of getting into the digital space. But I was doing more like administrative stuff. So I started as like administrative. And when I was in school, they have work study programs. I don't know what it's called. Well, you went to school in Texas. So
yeah, I know what work that is.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, they had work study opportunities, and like I said before, like I did really well in college. Like I got the best grades in college. I did the most, like if you could pile up everything in college, like that was me. Like I was like, okay, I'm gonna work here. I'm gonna take extra credits. I'm gonna work this job too. I'm gonna be an RA. I'm gonna do this. Like I just did everything. I'm like, I need to make up for all the time that I was playing games in high school and just do it. Like so. I think I had like 2 work study jobs, and I think I was also a resident assistant. That was too much, but it was fun, whatever. But that's where I started my administrative type of work. And I just help with like the what is it? The college admissions department. And helping students get on their classes and register and everything in that. So from that time frame when the internet started coming out, and then I'm in college, I'm just exploring different tools online. Like, people create softwares and applications and all these things, and I'm just exploring. I just want to learn about it. Like, how do I do this? What is this trick? What is this? Like, and then you just start becoming good at it. So, and then like with maybe like 2 years ago, I started doing it virtually. Because I wanted to, to earn some extra income. I had a job, but I just wanted to earn some extra income while I was like home or whatever. So I soon started the Savvy VA, and I was doing administrative things, but I got tired of it. It was not how I really wanted to contribute to business owners. um the way I saw it was like, okay, how do I help this person who has this great idea for business to service someone, or mostly to serve. I usually like to work with people who are providing services, not so much products.
Yeah.
So how do I help this person get their business idea out there? And what I learned was the things that I was doing for them saved them a lot of time in order to focus on their actual core service, like servicing their clients. So I was like, okay, I can do this as a business. Like, I can actually, provide this as my business service to still help other business owners do like their thing. Especially when you're an entrepreneur or solopreneur, you're doing it by yourself. You're trying to like manage all of these different things, and it's just like it can get it can become a lot. So I started in that, like doing administrative emails, calls, like project management type of things. Just anything on the computer that like was maybe a little bit tedious and time consuming. So that's what I started with. And then I realized, okay, I want to help in a different way. So I started seeing that people had these great ideas, but it was hard for them to get the idea in front of people. So that's when I was like, okay, marketing can help in that way. So like, how do I get this idea in front of more people? Especially with like older entrepreneurs who maybe like they wasn't
digital savvy.
Yeah, they just weren't interested. They didn't want to learn. They just thought it was stupid. So those were my type of target audiences, because they just didn't. It just was like a whole nother world for them that they just really didn't want to. It was no interest. So I was like, okay, I can help. And that's where it started. And from there, it changed, because marketing is big. It's like, okay, marketing is so broad. You can do different, like you can do advertisements, you can do content marketing, you can do video marketing, you can do all these different things. But what I found that I really want to focus on, which is recent that I've decided this, was content marketing. So coming up with the ideas that your target audience is interested to solve their problem, so they can understand that you know how to solve their actual issue. So that includes different things like, of course, you have to do the market research. Like, you have to research, like, who is this person? Like, okay, if you could think of an ideal client that maybe you've worked with in the past or that you want to work with, like really exploring all the different parts of who they are in terms of as it relates to their business. So that's the first step. And then the second step is, okay, after you realize what are their challenges, pain points, their values, their goals, and all of that, how do you start creating content to speak directly to them? Because some of the times people, and you probably hear this a lot, is like, your business cannot solve everyone's problems, and it cannot solve.
You have to hone in, like, hone it to your particular audience, but you have to know what your audience wants.
Right, exactly. So, but a lot of the times when people go in business, they want to solve everyone's problem, and it's like it's too big, it's too broad. You can when you define that target audience, it's going to be easier for you to come up with things that speak specifically to them, and they're going to feel that. Like, if you're speaking directly to me rather than speaking, it's like you're casting out the net, and then you hope somebody, like, jumps in, and it's like that's not how it works. So that's what I'm doing. That's the new focus for me. So yeah, it's been a learning process, but I'm learning from really experts in the field. So it's always good to start applying what I'm learning, and then seeing clients say, "Oh, yeah, this is great. Like this was amazing," and I'm just like, "Yay!" So yeah, that hopefully that wasn't too long winded and I didn't lose
No,
it.
no, it's beautiful. I love how you own your story, and to think that this is your first time actually being, on a live show,
Oh,
girl, you're a girl. But I can see how
no,
you're.
literally yesterday I had to go outside. I'm like, okay, let me talk in the voice thing so I can hear myself and make sure I'm not sounding
No, girl, you're perfect. No.
literally like I have the recording on my phone. I'm like, okay, just act like you're on the interview now and just just talk and make sure you're like not babbling and like
you've been spot on, like
good,
hitting the
good.
head
I'm
and
happy. Really,
being.
really happy.
I love that. But I can see how your upbringing and your background in sociology and what you're doing now. Even though I mean sociology was the term, but you're still helping. You're still working with people, and
Mm-hmm.
you can communicate effectively.
Mm-hmm.
In groups like with your audience and all of that. So kudos to you. And I mean, from looking at your bio and your what you do, you have a lot of reviews, like positive reviews. So for those that may be curious to know what kind of services you offer, do you want to talk a little bit about what you can help them do? It's a time to like talk about your brand.
Okay. Okay. So right now, the main service that I'm offering for business owners is so for the Savvy VA. That's clearly the name of my business right there on the screen. But basically, right now, the main services that I offer is for like opinion leaders or thought leaders who want to repurpose the podcast episodes that they've been on into content. What I noticed was, you get booked on all of these podcasts or radio shows, whatever it is, where you can have the audio content. But then it's just okay. You record the podcast, but then what do you do with it? You don't know how many people listen. You don't know if it got to your target. Like you don't even really know what really happened with all of that great, amazing content. So what I do is I take like your best episodes, your best interviews, and then I create that into like over 30 pieces of content for you to use that online. So now it saves you a lot of time with coming up with ideas like, okay, what do I say now? What do I say today? What should I say like next week? That can be time consuming because sometimes you have to plan it. If you really want to be organized, it's best to plan it ahead of time. And then I also help you really break down that target audience. Like, okay, maybe you know what your service is, but you don't know maybe the pain points of your target. What are they struggling with? Like what are their goals truly? So we do all of that so that we can come up with content to last you for like 2 months. And I also leave you with like just the template of, okay, you have this idea, you can put it in like maybe a video format, or you can create this blog and you can do a list, like different ideas like that. So if you do have the idea, okay, well, now I know I can put it in a list form, and then I can put that's my content for today or the next day or whatever. So it really helps you like get that starter pack of this content that I'm going to need for the next 2 months. So it's really helpful. The results that clients have seen has boosted their brand awareness, which is really the goal, is to get your ideas in front of more people. And the great thing about podcast content is when someone hears you talking about what you do,
Mm-hmm.
it gives them more certainty, because when you write it, it's like, okay, how do you know that you didn't copy and paste that? When you're talking, like this is coming from like knowledge or the heart. So that's what really is good about using the podcast content and turning it to audiograms. So little
That
audio.
As a podcaster, that sounds like a dream come true.
Yeah.
So I'm putting your contact information on the comment section, and I'll add that to the blog as well in case anyone wants to reach you. So now let's do a little bit of a segue into just racial identity and all of that. So and I know off camera you and I had talked about just some of the biases we hold. As an African, there was a way I pictured what African Americans would look like, and you also talked about the way you thought Africans would look like.
Mhm.
And I'm sure there's so many we can't even start. If we were to list them one by one, we're just gonna get booted off Facebook. I don't want to go to Facebook, y'all. But let's talk about some of the positive side. Like from your interaction with Africans, what are some of the things we can do to at least work together with African Americans? Because I feel like it's always like a half of a story ever told, and we haven't been quite vested in each other's lives to be able to at least talk and be very cooperative.
Mhm.
There's always been that middleman. So the media, whatever we can put in the middle, that tends to like tell us just one incomplete, sometimes not often true stories. So how
Mhm.
do we move forward? Because Africa, I feel like is such a wide place. I mean, just geographically speaking
Mhm.
and metaphorically speaking, that it's enough to contain all of us.
Mhm.
And if we're to be vested in each other's life, like Africans that are here, given that if we want to talk about blacks making a lot of successful gains in the US, more
Mhm.
often than not, there are blacks that migrated from other, black nations. And but Africa has there's so much untapped power from African Americans and Caribbean Americans to go back and when I say go back, not move back like finally, but at
Mhm.
least let's work in a very synergistic way. But I'm just curious to know, have you given thoughts to just how we can keep this narrative going?
So I think the first thing that is going to help building that relationship between people from Africa and people like raised in the US is one, like you first just have to acknowledge maybe all that you think you know or you've heard from the media. Like once you realize the media, the role that it plays in keeping people apart and keeping people in fear, that's the first step. You just have to acknowledge that, because then you start to like be curious about, and then it starts. So one, it'll start with, okay, let the media's idea and their intentions, whatever they are, let that go. Understand what it's used for. Fear. I'm sorry. That's it. I don't know. That's my personal opinion. It's to create fear sometimes. So once you acknowledge that, then you can start to become curious about individual people. Like how me and you became curious about one another. That's one, like you can't just say, okay, it cannot continue to be like this blanket thing where you're generalizing people. That is impossible to create. Like you cannot do that. You have to just be curious. Okay, this individual. Okay, I'm interested in you as an individual. Yes, you're African. Yes, I'm African American. Once I become curious about you, then we're gonna explore all the unique things about you and I, not with the lens or the ears of what you've heard from someone else that may not even be true, or some things could be true, but you still have to be curious as an individual. So that to me is the biggest, that right there is the biggest thing, to be honest, that you could do to like build relationships, because it's
I,
with any other, whether it was an African and a Spanish person or Hispanic
yeah.
person, it's gonna be all across. You just have to be interested in that individual person.
I love that, and I see the sociologist in you talking. Like even though you're very curious about groups of people, but it still boils down to the individual level.
Yeah.
And whatever you find out from that person, try not to extrapolate it beyond that person's experience. God forbid this person ends up to be, the vilest person or, the most, whatever evil person out there. Not all Africans are like that. Not all African Americans like that. Because
Yeah.
countries are countries, people are people. And
Yeah.
you couldn't have just said it any much better than I would have. It's just, getting to know somebody. And you realize that at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, connection. We all want to feel like
True.
we are a part of something,
Mhm.
and I like that. And I feel like for Africans, and this is my own. When I speak as an African, this is just a general statement. Not all Africans probably think that way, but I realized that a lot of things I knew about African Americans was what I saw on TV growing up, and they weren't necessarily always portrayed in the best light. And so moving to the US, where I came on a visa that was kind of a scholastic visa. So I wasn't gonna be in the community, anytime soon. I was gonna be in a bubble, an Ivy League bubble where, it was just, the top of the top people in grad school. And so, I mean, what was a chance to start mixing with African Americans that were not, in my school? And I went to a school that wasn't quite, diverse with black people. Currently, I work in Oklahoma and live in Oklahoma, not quite diverse. So where do I meet these people from?
Right, right.
And so that's why I'm very thankful for a platform like this because I get to, and maybe other, social ventures that I'm involved in. But I think it's high time we seize that narrative and get to know each other because there's so much we can learn, so much we can learn. And you realize that, especially when things happen, when, bad things happen to people around you, it doesn't even matter what their skin color is because you get to start having that shared grief experiences. And then you realize that skin color, it's fine. Let's acknowledge the beauty of this
Yeah,
melanin. But
right.
there's so much more that runs deep inside of me.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
I'm really, really happy that you just said having a platform like this, so it gives you the opportunity and others to explore outside of maybe what their hometown permits. And I think that's also why I like to travel. I remember when I was like, just quickly, like when I travel, I'm traveling not to, and this is no slight to anyone who does this, but when I travel, is not to just take nice pictures. Like I'm definitely going to take some nice pictures, but really, like it's really the cultural immersion part because that's really where you get to learn about yourself and how you are different from other people, but how you can still appreciate the person that's different from you. Like that is so important. Like
Yeah.
the traveling thing it's so layered, like in terms of what you will learn. It's so important, and I would just really wish everyone could travel because then you start to shed some of your biases. And if you keep your biases, then you just want to be ignorant, then I mean I cannot help you. But
Yeah.
you're open to learning about someone else, that is that's a way to do it. So yeah, I'm happy you said that.
I agree. I think was it Mark Twain that said something about when you travel, you tend to be less myopic about things. I forget how he said it, but yes, I know traveling is something that could be quite expensive for some people to be able to afford. But if you have a chance to, just go to places, or even if you never get to go to places, be part of groups. So I'm part of Toastmasters that is so diverse, depending on where you go. And so even when I get to travel, I tend to go to meetings. And then before you know it, you're making friends with people from different nations, and they become like your cultural standpost in a
Yeah,
way
yeah.
to explore those countries. But like I said, be curious. Like I always say that, there's almost a question you want to ask me as an African that I wouldn't be able to answer. But then if your question is stupid, I can always call you out and be like, so when people ask you, are you gonna go back? Sometimes they're just asking you in a way like, you're taking our jobs, go back. I can always sense the tone. So I always want to ask, what are you curious to know? Like, are you really curious to know about my welfare here, or you're just being a jerk? Like, I just find out, but I want to answer your question, and I feel like you're at a risk of losing that cultural curiosity elements because everything now is, shrouded under an ism, like, oh, xenophobia, or you're racist and things like that. But some people really do have genuine questions. And I
Yeah.
feel like we should leave that door, a little bit of a door open for questions. And then we can begin to talk about some of these assumptions and biases, like to trash them out. And I'm thankful for those of my friends that, thank God I didn't go on Twitter to go ask these questions or on Facebook to go ask these questions. I probably would have been branded like, a very bad one. But they could see my heart.
Yeah, yeah. And I was gonna say that too, because what I see sometimes is people like, okay, don't ask the person, go online and learn. And it's like you're asking that person that you personally know because you feel safe. Like
That's it.
feel safe.
Yeah, honey, like get that safety, like, oh my gosh, I should be like my Korean friends. Thank God for them. Girl, I would have lost my job, lost my credibility. But they were like, don't worry, we know your heart. We know you didn't mean that. Like,
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
I'm choking myself. Like, I know
Mhm.
this question is bordering on, what you might call racism, but I really want to know, like, why
Yeah.
did you do this?
That's what they, and it's good that they're understanding like that. It's
Yeah,
really good that they are understanding like that. And that's why it's important to build personal relationship
that,
with people.
that's it.
Like
That's
people,
it.
not the TV and what they're gonna tell you, because you're gonna be fearful to ask those questions. But if you start building personal relationships, then like your friend knows that okay, she's not being this. She's
Yeah.
just curious.
They
So
know your heart, but the internet people don't know your heart. They're just gonna come at you with their
they just
pitchforks.
see the blanket thing, and it's like, oh, that looks like this. So let's just
Exactly. Without no contact, they don't even know you. They don't know what your journey is like. So yeah, go find yourself, people, right? And I agree with that.
yeah,
Um,
really important.
but I hope you do explore Africa, and I hope you do feel at least get that courage to be able to visit any part of Africa that you want
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
Hopefully, when
I want
you
to. I mean, very, very. I know that it's gonna come to, because some of the groups that I'm connected to often travel there. So well, my time is coming. But I really, honestly, now that I have my daughter, like I want her to come with me. So I
okay.
want to be, she's old enough, a little, where she's gonna maybe remember it or something.
Hey, there'll be pictures. There'll be dozen pictures to remind her, even though she's like, I don't remember. Well, you were here. You were at that. Yeah.
Right.
Right. And now, I think it's a perfect way to talk about, single parenthood.
Mhm.
How's that been like? And was it something? Well, let me just ask you stupidly. I'm sure it wasn't something you really wanted it that way, but how did it come about, and how have you been coping with that?
Okay, of course, no, definitely didn't want it to happen that way. But some for the to keep it like simple as possible, but not like touchy a little, is sometimes you just have to make decisions that like the greatest good. So the greatest good can sometimes be different from what you think should be, or you think should happen, or things like that. So that if that can answer, do you feel like that gives you an answer?
Oh, I'll just assume. Well, I think from what I could get was that it being this thing was the best thing that could, to making the best out of a bad situation.
Yeah, yeah. That definitely covers it. And sometimes you have to do that. I know that my ideal scene is a family unit with, of course, two parents and the kids or whatever, but it doesn't mean that it's all over. That doesn't mean it's okay, that can never be. It just, you have to find the group that you can actually create that with.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so yeah.
yeah. It's not the end product, but it's just the quality of the person you're with, right?
Hmm.
And but how's that been like though? How's it? You co-parent with this person? Are you co-parenting, or you just it's all on you?
Um. Uh. Yeah. It's probably 90% me. It's probably 90% me. Maybe 95.
That's high. What would you say are some of the challenges? And we'll talk about the good things as well. I mean, you have your daughter. So that's
Yeah, so of course, that's the best thing. Like being a parent there's no, like being a responsible parent, because some people are parents, but sometimes they're not responsible. But being a responsible parent, of course, there's challenges. But like to know that you're helping this young person like grow and develop into someone who's gonna contribute positively in the world, like that's the best. Like because what it does and what I'm learning is that it's challenging me, like me just as a person. Like, okay, how do I make sure I'm this so that I can show her how to do this. So like I remember one time I listened before when I was pregnant, Beyonce she has very little interviews. I love Beyonce, first of all, so we just gonna put that up. Um, but she had an interview, and I guess they were asking about her daughter, Blue. And one thing she said was like, the best thing that she can give to her daughter is to show her how to be this, whatever it is that she wanted. It like showing her is more important than telling her this is what you do. So for me, it's like, okay, I know I need to develop in these areas. How do I start to do that now so that she can see by example and not by like, I didn't do it, so now I'm gonna just tell you. And telling me and showing me and letting me actually see it, two different tones, like totally different. So that's the way that it's challenging me. But in terms of like the challenges that I experience as that is like, you know, it's a lot, especially when you're trying. I'm trying to build a business. I know I need to be emotionally present and supportive to her and myself. And just making sure all of those components are there. I feel like it's, well, I don't know. I'm assuming, I could be wrong, that it's different when you have an older child because they're exploring to start more on
Yeah.
their own. Like you can it's a little different. But for me right now, my business is just kind of new, getting off the ground. She's almost a year, so she's still young. And she needs that support, and that's challenging. And then the other challenge is, the judgment that you feel sometimes from other people. That part is like, that's probably the hardest part, because you're juggling so much, and then people have their ideas on what you should and shouldn't be doing. And granted, they could probably be right about certain things, but it's like getting there is that's like okay, I'm here. I know I need to be here, but it's some time in between that. And sometimes it's just not like as fast as maybe that other person wants to be. But that's still my intentions. I'm still going there. But I think sometimes I don't know. I hope I'm not like all over the place right now with
No,
this.
no, no, you're perfect. Just keep going. I don't want to interrupt you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think generally for the most part people have good intentions when they're like making their comments or whatever. But I think for me personally is, if that like advice or opinion is not backed by like support, it's hard for me to like, okay, so you have this judgment, but you're not helping me with nothing. You didn't ask me like, oh, what do you need help with?
Mm,
Or
mm,
you're
mm.
doing this wrong. Let me show you how to do it. Or is there a reason why you're not doing it? Like, what's going on? Is everything okay? Like it's just like, don't do it. Oh, okay, yeah, great. So but luckily I have both. I have the advice that doesn't get backed by support, but then I also have the advice that is backed by support. And I know that not everyone has that, but I'm very thankful to have that, because I would call her my second mom. She's really amazing. She really, really helps me through a lot of things, and she's the support that I really need. And she has a similar experience. I mean, she was a single mom. It didn't start out like that. She was married. She in the world's eye, she did everything right. Like she did all the steps that were correct. She was married to the person, blah blah blah. But like I said before, sometimes it's you have to look at the greatest good.
Out
So
of the situation, yeah.
yeah, so like you just have to decide what's going to be the best thing for you and the child. But she's really supportive of me, and I really appreciate that, because man, I just don't know, like I don't know. She's just great. Like I cannot thank her enough. So yeah, those are the slight challenges, but it can all be worked out. I know that there's challenges, but what I really want to get to moms or even dads that are doing it on like mostly on their own is, it can be done. It really can be done if you're attaching yourself to the right people. who are going to be supportive of you, like in all your endeavors, like your business. Like she's the person I'm talking about. She's supportive of me in my business. She's supportive of me in doing this, on my own. Like I remember when I had a business trip in February, like I was like, okay, I probably time is ticking, and I'm like, I still don't have one to watch my daughter, and I'm just like, it was for a week time. It was for like 7 to 10 days, and I couldn't find anyone. So thankfully,
Captain.
her mother flew from Florida
Wow.
to Maryland, where she lived, to watch my daughter for that time so that I can be at that trip. Like, if that, like, I was just like, I'm literally like, how? Just like, thank you. Like, thank you. Like, that was amazing. So I know everyone doesn't have that. But I would encourage people to build those relationships. Like, just build relationships with people that you can trust, that you can, eventually trust with your child. Because like, I had no doubt that my child was going to be fine with her, and her mother. So that's the great
People don't have that. That's a blessing you have that. Some people don't. They literally don't have this kind of
yeah.
positive environment where they can leave their kids for like 30 seconds without something happening.
Yeah. Oh man, that's.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
understand. I understand.
And I mean, I think you trying to do things to at least show your daughter how things can be done. I think that's quite positive because you're modeling what how will I put it? What being a woman is like,
Mm-hmm.
not you want to have it all, but I can be a mom and I can, make my business on the side. And for those that want to be just mom, be a stay-at-home mom, that's fine. You
That's
do you.
fine.
You just this is your
I just
passion.
want to I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I really want to put something out there about the stay-at-home mom. Like, there is nothing wrong with, like, if you want to be a mom and that's your title, that's a big job. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like, okay, just sit home and, let the child play on their own and I'm just scrolling on my, like, it's more than that. It's really more than that. So I just want to, if you are a stay-at-home mom, like, congratulations, an amazing job, because that's big. It's some people think, it's just some simple thing that you don't have to tend to anything and you're not working. Excuse me? Like,
You're picking up. I mean, I think this isolation period, staying at home and taking after your kids, people are not gonna be so quick to like,
yeah, please.
at home moms. Like, how's it going right now?
And shout out to the moms too, who, like, because there's some stay-at-home moms that, like, they make it fun, which you should. They do like really fun activities with their kids, and I'm just like, soon I'm gonna be able to do that. Soon I'll be able to do that too. But that's great. That's how it should be. Your kids should have that fun time when they're with you. Like, and it should be amazing for them. So yeah, that's great. Those moms are amazing.
Thank you. So, it's your first Mother's Day, like
My
as a mom, the very first one. Your daughter made you a mom.
Yeah, she's gonna be one. She's turning one next week.
When's
So
her birthday? What day?
May 18th. It's on Monday. It's on a Monday.
Well, happy birthday to her.
Yes. Yes.
So, like, think about how last year was and then this year. Like, I mean, your daughter made the difference, but how do you feel being a mom?
I really feel blessed, honestly. I really do feel blessed, and because I remember when I was younger, foolishly, I used to say, like, oh, I don't want to have kids. Like, I don't want to be a parent. And I don't know why I said that. Like, why would you say something like that? I don't know. But I think it's the biggest, it's a great opportunity. It's nothing like it. And I'm just thankful that she was healthy. I'm happy that she's here. And I'm thankful that I had a chance to be a mom. Like that's, I'm speechless over it because there's just, it's a great opportunity to be able to do something like that. But yeah, I was pregnant last year. I was overdue. Like I had her like, I think at 43 weeks. And I did have a C-section. It wasn't an emergency C-section. It was just, that just, it was going over the time of the recommended time that, you should have the baby in
Yeah.
your womb or whatever. But yeah, so I had a C-section. She was a 10-pounder. So yeah, but I remember that day like very, very, very vividly. It was really funny. It was really great because I had the stuff, the whatever to numb you or whatever, and then she came out and
Epidural.
yeah. So she came out and then I was a little under whatever, and I was saying to my child's father like, can we go traveling? Can we go traveling?
Were you high on drugs?
I really was. And it's so funny because they told me like, oh, you're gonna feel like an elephant on your stomach. I was like, okay, and an elephant is okay. Like that's okay. There's nothing wrong. And but yeah, it was just a great experience, and I'm just really thankful. I couldn't, granted it wasn't planned, but like why I cannot sit in that. I can't sit in that and say I'm angry because this wasn't how I wanted it to be. Like because then what you're doing is you're missing a whole bunch of time that's happening.
And you're never gonna get it back.
You never. Like I'm looking at her loud, like you're walking, you're running, and you have like 8 teeth. And I remember you was just like in my arm, and I was just like, how did this happen? So that also reminds me, like, be there, be present with her, so that you can enjoy those moments. So yeah.
I like that. I wishing you the best and happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
And I think it's also like a segue to talk about just other kinds of moms, like so doing it, single mom. All the best with that. And I know for a lot of people, Mother's Day is such a touchy subject. Because, either they've lost, their moms, or they don't have a very good relationship with their moms, or they lost a child, or they just haven't been able to have kids. And so just encouraging people, like, keep that hope alive.
Yes.
If it's your desire, if it's something you really want, there are many ways you can be a mom. And the fact that you don't have a kid right now, you could be a mom already to the people around you. Like they might see you like a mom, like you have that mothering qualities. But don't give up hope on seeking that. I don't know if you had any words of encouragement for those that fall into those categories.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely just say, still be open to the opportunity that it could happen, and it will, and take those other opportunities to have that mom role to other people, because I'm sure that could be fulfilling too. Of course, it's going to be different having your own child, but I still think that maybe if you express yourself in that way, then that could, that could ease a little, things that maybe you're experiencing at the time.
I agree. Well, these were all my questions. I don't know if you had any final words or anything before I close us out. And then most importantly, how do you feel now that you've been on the show?
I feel good. I'm happy I did it.
Good.
I was like, should I do it or should I say that I'm not ready? But I'm like, why would you do something? Like you already agreed to be here, so yeah. I'm just like, yeah.
You did perfect anyway. Like
I appreciate
that. Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. Is there any other questions out there in this?
Oh, I've asked them. So the one was the first one was the one about not having a male presence in the house. How do you deal with the kids? But I kind of asked that a little bit, like how are you able to cope being alone?
Aside from that is I like my dad is very supportive. Like he's like he's amazing. You know, like he's very helpful. But I think she's still so young that right now, if you know my family can give her the emotional support that she needs, then
Yeah.
that's it. Of course, when she gets older, probably it'll be different, but hopefully I'll be in a different situation by then. You know.
You never know. Well,
Yeah.
Essence, I love your name, by the way. I don't think I've ever met anyone with that name before. You know, I mean,
Yay. First
yeah,
friend.
it's been mad or something like that. Anyways, thanks a lot for coming on the show. It was really pleasant to, hear your story from growing up in Harlem and everything you're doing now, from your background in sociology and helping business owners, be able to hone into what really matters as far as amplifying their brand and meeting their customers' need rather than just being all out there. And thanks for talking about, your life as a single parent for now and just the challenges and the triumphs and sincerely wish you all the best in the new coming year. And I know with your daughter growing up, you're gonna, get more excitement and more milestones and all of that. And so in every area of your life, wishing you the very, very best. But really, thank you so much for being on the
Thank
show.
you so much for like just inviting me on the show. Especially right now, Mother's Day is tomorrow. It'll be my
Yeah,
first Mother's
yeah,
Day. It'll be her first birthday. This is my first podcast show, like sharing personal parts about myself.
yeah.
So it's a first. These are all first times. So
Right. And you should bask in it. And
yeah,
I also forgot to mention how we met, So I had reached out to Women of Colors podcast group, and I had a question about integrating Instagram Live to Facebook Live. And Essence was so kind enough to like, hey, I can talk to you, pick a date on my calendar. I was like, wow, what an organized person like me. And we talked and realized that okay, my question I didn't really ask my question very well, that there was nothing she could help out with. But I remember that we kept on talking for up to an hour just about ourselves. We could have
Mhm.
just hit the record button to make like a podcast episode on its own. But I really want to thank you for being so
Yeah,
generous of your time that day and just talking. I felt like I just made a new friend. You know,
yeah, that's good. I'm happy for that. I'm really excited.
thanks for being, I think, helpful because you never know what comes out of these conversations. Like, who would have thought that a question that I put out there would, lead to
Right,
an
we're
hour-long
turning to this.
conversation? Yeah, yeah.
There's so many opportunities for me too. So I
Mhm.
do appreciate you allowing me to be on your platform. I thank you for even getting on the call that time because I know some people are like, "Oh, is she trying to sell me? I don't want to." So I'm just like, no, I'm just literally here to help. It's
Yeah,
not.
I was blown away by your presentation. I was like, I have to be there. I think calendar. There was a calendar. I was like, oh, man, it's hard for me to be on the receiving end. So
Yeah,
yeah, but I think it took two of us. Like I can sense that you're free spirited in that regard,
thank
and
you.
that openness. Because we talked a lot. That first hour of just getting on the call.
And you were literally about to get off the phone too. That's the crazy part. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, we were like,
well,
"Oh, I'm
thank
like,
you.
hey.
And I think you might have asked me a question, and I'm like, oh. And then that was
That
it.
was it. That was it. And when it was there, I was like, oh, she's gonna stay. Okay, sure. I guess we can keep talking. Well, thank you. And I mean, if
Yeah,
there's anything you can help on the show with, and how I can, if you want to collaborate or anything like that, just let me know. However, I can help you, with your brand as well. We're in this together, so.
okay, well, thank you guys. Thank you for all of you who have tuned in, and thank you for anyone who's going to watch the
Yeah.
replay. And I appreciate it. And have a great
Where
day.
can people find you on social media, just in case for those that are watching the recordings?
So you can find me right now on like my personal Instagram page. I think would be more applicable for people if you're not like doing business. Is I don't know if I can put it in this thing.
I think it's True Essence,
Yeah, it's
also True underscore.
right. So you can find me on there because if there are any moms out there, I'm going to be launching something very, very soon for moms. Because I do want to show the appreciation all year round for moms in their journeys, whatever stage that you're in terms of becoming a mom, preparing to become a mom, being a mom, and all that happens like that. So I am going to be launching something very soon for everyone that's going to be fitting in that category. So
I love that. I
stay
love
tuned, and yeah, we'll see you.
And note that the true essence is TRUESSENC _. So it's not double E with the true and the essence.
Yeah. It's together like that. Yeah.
Anyways, well, kisses to your daughter and happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
All right, bye guys. This has been the More Sibyl Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to leave a love comment in the section and catch you guys in another episode of the show. I remain your host, Mo.